she said that it's super cute people doing the same thing, just going over the same. I didn't go on so quick. So I'm getting ready to go. I'm sitting back.
Thank you, Cindy, and the choir. Good morning. Well, welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Hamilton. We welcome you here in the sanctuary and those who have opted to join us online. Please can you ensure your electronic devices are muted or off. My name is Susan Johnston. My pronouns are she, her, and I am this morning's service leader. It takes many people to bring you a service, and I would like to acknowledge those that are helping today. This service comes from the garden team and our friends at the Climate Justice. Our music ministers this morning are Rachel Derry, our choir, led by Cindy Carey. Our tech team, John Elliott and Claire Miles. Our ushers, Barb Wallace and Kathy Brown. And worship assistants, Anne Craig Howarth and Ian Johnston. There are a few announcements, just a couple. As we look ahead to the summer, the worship team will be scheduling lay-led services on Sundays during the month of July. If you have an idea for a sermon, please contact the worship team. We have experienced mentors who will assist you in as much or as little as you need. If you are a veteran speaker, a complete novice, or somewhere in between, we need your energy and ideas to make our summer services informative, transformative. Let us know your thoughts. If you have any questions or have a date in mind, please see Reverend Jamie after the service. Now, the charitable purposes information session. The board is proposing changes to our charitable purposes based on the work of the ONCA Task Force, that's the ONCA. These changes require the approval of the members and the Canada Revenue Agency. So 2 meetings have been scheduled. An information session after this service, and a special members meeting to vote on the changes 2 weeks on April the 28th. A package for the special members meeting was distributed recently and also available on the homepage of our website. The information session scheduled for today, April the 14th, after the service, is a forum for learning about the changes in a meeting hosted by the ONCA Task Force. So join us in person or by Zoom, and the Zoom link can be found on the church calendar or in your ACE. And lastly, on your way out, please stop by the tables in the foyer where you can find all the information from the garden team and the climate action group. Now I'm asking Mel to come up and give us an update.
Thank you. I have an update from the Ministerial Search Committee. The board has decided we're going to go on and participate in round 2, and the committee wants to express our gratitude for the support that the board has shown us, and also our gratitude for the whole congregation and your words of encouragement. That means a lot to us. We're now in round 2. Ministerial candidates have until this Friday, April 19th, to express an interest in our congregation. If we do get any candidates interested in us, we're going to continue to use feedback we got from you from the surveys and the cottage meetings to determine whether or not we have a match.
Thank you, Mel. Okay. As we gather this morning as one community, a community united by common ideals, but look around you. Every face represents an individual. Every one of us has our own story, needs, strengths, and faults. We light our chalice today, honoring our common connections and also the uniqueness that lives in every one of us. Please join me in our chalice lighting words. May this flame be our light of friendship and love. Thank you, Sue. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey of faith or search for meaning, today you are one of us, and you are welcome in this house of worship. Our mission is to nurture one another, serve the community, and inspire action to heal the world. A few words by Sean Neil Barron. We gather together as a community of seekers to honor the interdependence of life, to respect the dignity of all, and to honor the land we humbly walk upon. Let us acknowledge that we walk upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas, the original nations of this land who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. The stewardship of the original people who lived here preserved this place for our generations, so we seek to be respectful stewards of this place for all that follow. Today, we are also acknowledging Earth Day, which was first celebrated on April the 22nd, 1970, as a day to honor the earth and to participate in environmental teachings. Jennifer Pratt Water. These are the wonders of earth dwellers, how plants harvest sun and remake its heat into food. Then it is harnessed by the plant eaters and up. An infinitesimal wink of the sun and earth's boiling core in each warm-blooded cell. Is it not a marvel how us animal people marry oxygen in our red blood cells, how we can release CO2 for the plants, and how we all must return our bodies back when shed of life? How can we not live in unity and awe within the symbiotic choreography of such miracles? Our first hymn this morning is 1005 in the Teal hymnal.
My name is Tim Versteeg. My pronouns are he, him, and it is my great pleasure to serve this church as its religious educator. Our story for all ages this morning is called Stand Like a Cedar, and its author is an indigenous person from the Sayulks and Nklep-Gumuk and Métis backgrounds in British Columbia. Her stories weave cultural and land-based teachings that focus on respect, endurance, healing, and reciprocity. We went paddling in our cedar canoe one rainy spring day. Pouring rain was fresh on our skin, and we paddled anyway. The rush and sweep of gentle waves reminded us of the beauty of spring. Loon swam with us. She shared a song about her spring flight, returning from a long winter far away. I am grateful for all newborn animals making their first footsteps across the land. I went gathering with my grandmother one sunny spring morning. When we arrived, the world was awakening to the brilliance of the day. Springtime shoots and bitter roots sprouting up from the land, they shared a story about Earth's transformation, the end of winter and rebirth of spring. I am grateful for the roots and shoots. They provide the first springtime feasts for all living things. I went running along a mountain trail one blustery summer day. Earth was warm beneath my feet and sunshine glimmered through mountain trees. Snake was resting on sun-warmed stones. Snake shared a story about her love for her children and for summertime. I am grateful for all living creatures, big and small. I went berry picking with my mother in the highest alpine mountains one beautiful day in late summer. A noisy clan of happy, dusty children, a great caravan of family journeyed from valley bottom to mountaintop. We listened as our elders shared a song about our ancestors when they traveled by horse and wagon, and before that by travois and on moccasin-covered foot, in search of traditional foods to nourish our families. We are grateful for the land that takes care of us. We went fishing at our great river. From the mountains of our family went straight to the river one beautiful day in late summer. 5 kinds of salmon came to visit us. They shared a story of when our great river was clean. We could walk on the backs of 1 million spawning salmon. Our nets were always full and our children never hungry. We took care of one another, sockeye, chinook, coho, chum, and humpback. We are grateful for wind-dried, smoked, and jarred fish. We went hunting one bright autumn morning. Dad woke us up before the sun rose above the mountains and he said, "Wake up, my children. It's time for us to greet the day." Grandfather deer visited us. His summer coat was turning grayish brown. He shared a story about his descendants and family. He explained that death is part of our life cycle. He said to honor our tears as though they were stars in the sky. He reminded us to take care of the land. I went walking one day in late autumn. The world was changing to winter. Snowflakes and golden leaves danced all around. I needed to visit our sacred land. I needed to feel the cold breath of winter on my skin. A mother grizzly bear and her cubs crawled into their cave. She shared a beautiful song about resilience. I am grateful to walk in the footsteps of my ancestors. Their courage to survive ensured our cultures and traditions will always be shared with future generations. I returned to my favorite mountain trail one sunny winter day. The land was covered by a blanket of snow and ice. I went anyway. I needed to visit our sacred land. I needed to feel the cold breath of winter on my skin. Great raven and beautiful eagle sang among the cedars and Douglas firs, and together they danced in the sky. I paid witness to their honor songs that echoed tremendous love. Today we went to the lodge, we went to the longhouse, we went to the mountain, we went to the land, we went to the water. We sat with our elders and prayed. We sang and danced in honor and gratitude of our loved ones. This song is our promise to protect and respect our sacred land, the water that nourishes us, the four-legged, the winged ones, the ones that walk and crawl. We are Indigenous, we love to run, paddle our canoes, dance and play, and when we need to remember our promises, we stand like cedar trees, hands raised to the sky. We are grateful for all living things. Today, after the service, if you have time and would like to lend a hand, we will be doing a major clean in Fellowship Hall of our supplies and crafts and all sorts of stuff. And today in CYRE, we will be talking about transformation, which is our worship theme this morning and all month. And with that, Rachel will sing Those of Us Who Are Here out, and the children will follow myself, and Tanya is our helper today.
Good morning. My name is Sue Prescott, and my pronouns are she, her. And I am so happy today to talk to you about how plants are Earth's lifeblood. But first, I want to share with you something that happened to me, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I had put my speech together on my talk. It was the universe that came up and said, no, you've got something else you have to add. So this is what happened. Whether by chance, I don't know, maybe not. I was watching a program on a documentary of the Magpie River, which is in Quebec. They had a question in that program that stuck with me, and I want to share that with you today. It said this: does nature have rights? Well, I thought about that for a minute, and then, just by accident, or maybe not, I found a lady called Diana Shelton. She is a professor of international law at the George Washington University Law School and former member of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. And I want to read what she said about nature. In 2008, Ecuador became the first country in the world to declare in its constitution that nature is a legal person. Now, in this constitution, it recognizes the inalienable rights of ecosystems, and it gives individuals the authority to petition on behalf of ecosystems and requires the government to remedy violations of nature's rights. So I'm just going to use the clicker here for a minute. There we go. Douglas Tallamay wrote a book called Bringing Nature Home. He's an American entomologist, ecologist, and a conservationalist. And in his book, he actually wrote right from the very beginning, and he didn't mince any words about it. He said, and I'll quote, "Native plants once made this land a rich source of life for its indigenous peoples, and later for the European colonists and their children." Well, it's true that a lot of our ecosystems are no longer rich, and it's well known to most of us that the surviving remnants of our native flora have actually now been destroyed by some unscrupulous companies and developers and by invasive species. I also found it very interesting and quite ironic that some of the names of these housing developments are called. You might recall some of these, and I'll give you a list of a couple of them. Brittany Oaks, Chestnut Lake, Rolling Hills, Meadowlands, Ancaster Glen, Hidden Valley. These are all named after a little bit of nature that's now eradicated. Now, these small patches of land may actually foster survival for some of our wildlife, but these small islands can only protect a very small portion of the species that once lived there. And as Douglas Tallamay says in his book, we simply have not left enough intact habitat for most of our species, including us, my words, to avoid extinction. Oh, is it working? Oh, there we go. As I see it, native plants do play such an important role in developing a habitat because they can play a much larger role in our success for the future. Now, as a European myself, who did actually fall for a lot of these exotic beauty of plants, I can say without a doubt how important it was for some people because it was a signal of wealth, status, to landscape with alien ornamentals that no one else had, that even today in Canada we can still see how some individuals and companies will select unique species of plants just for show and designing a landscape. But my friends, plants are not optional for our planet. In fact, all living species cannot be alive today without plants. From the food we eat, to the clothes we wear, to the buildings we live in, and even to the medicines and natural products they produce, like fruits, nuts, oils, resins, rubber. Plants also protect the soil from erosion and release nutrients to keep the soil fertile. They provide shelter to insects. There you go. To birds and reptiles. But who actually takes the time to think that the oxygen that we all breathe has been produced exclusively by plants, or that rainwater is filtered clean by the tangled mass of roots from trees into the nearest stream? And as we all know, plants capture the sun's energy through a process called photosynthesis. They turn the sun's energy into food. That's how important plants are. And as Douglas Tallamay says, we can no longer hope to coexist with other animals if we continue to wage war on their homes and food supplies. Plants, therefore, he says, form the first trophic level and the energy that sustains all of life. Now, as it so happens, maybe by chance, maybe not, the Friends of the Climate Action Team a while back recommended a book by a person called Diana Beresford-Kroger called The Global Forest. Now, she is an Irish botanist, a medical biochemist, and a world-recognized author. I'm going to read just a very small chapter, not a chapter, just the first paragraph of what she said in her book. She calls it Home Sweet Home. A forest is a home. All the forests of the global gardens are homes to microbiota, insects, birds, mammals, and plants. These homes are important to each and every form of life. No one species is better or worse than the other. They are equal to one another in a chain of connectivity. Each bee, each wolf has the right to dream or die, has the right to live a life, its own particular life of wonder, and it has a right to that home until the end of time. Now, Diana also put together a bio plan I'm going to leave you with today. I'm going to read it to you, and you might be quite surprised what she's going to say. She says this: if every person plants one tree each year for 6 years, one native species tree into a native space, we can reverse climate change. So, my friends, for every breath you take, please thank a tree. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Our offering is a reminder of the spirit of generosity that is at the heart of our beloved community, and when we share our financial resources, we ensure the continued existence of our church. So while we are listening to the choir, we hope that you will give generously.
My love
These gifts to our church and community are most appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, choir. That's an extremely beautiful piece, composed by our own Rachel Derry and Val Ramsey. My name is Linda Sivier. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a member of the Climate Action Team, along with Mary Ellen Scanlon, Irene Kay, and Sheila Van Leusden. Our meditation words today come from the Reverend Kelly Dingan. In the presence of the boundless mysteries of the cosmos, we gather in deep gratitude and awe. We give thanks for the unfolding wonders of the natural world, the intricate dance of ecosystems, the resilience of life, and the profound interconnectedness that weaves through the tapestry of existence. We marvel at the grandeur of the universe. We humbly recognize our place within this cosmic symphony. Grant us the wisdom to embrace a deep love and reverence for Earth, our shared home. May we return to ancient practices of reciprocity and mutuality as we recognize the inherent value of every creature, every ecosystem, and every delicate balance that sustains life. We acknowledge the urgent call for earth care and climate justice. Help us imagine a future of flourishing for all. Align our actions with the rhythms of nature and the principles of justice. Grant us the courage to confront the challenges of our time with compassion, seeking justice for those most affected by environmental degradation.
I'd like to invite you to come. Invite you to come forward and light a candle. Okay? We have some joys and sorrows this morning. We have a sorrow from Ginny Megan. On April the 8th, my mother-in-law died very peacefully, surrounded by family, including all 4 of her children. She was the last of her generation, so her loss is not only for our immediate family, but for all the extended family. She stood for everything they loved about the Marcolese Evangelisto family, which says, family comes first, be generous when you can, and be quiet when you don't have anything good to say. She was in her 100th year. And Ginny also thanks us for our ongoing support, and she knows that you are with us as we walk this path. There might be other sorrows out there that are too hard to share, so with you we say our prayers and hopes will go with you all. 2 joys. One from the Blooms of Africa group, who would like to wish a great thank you to all the congregants who attended the book exchange fundraiser for the African Grandmothers Blooms. They appreciate the church's generosity, allowing us to use this beautiful building, and thank you treats for you after the service. Another joy, this time from Joanne Tunnicliffe. Chester Tunnicliffe, our 12-year-old lab who has spent his whole life in the UU gardens, yeah, we see him every week, is getting an 8-week-old lab puppy this afternoon. So his job will be to train him to the ways of the Tunnicliffe household. Okay, and now I'd like to hand you over to Joanne for our little homily.
Good morning. Can you hear me? All right, I'm going to wake you up. We have to burst into spring, and that's what this is all about. So there are false things and true things happening about the spring. So I'm going to start by telling you, first of all, I am Joanne Tunnicliffe, before I forget that. I go by she, her, and I have been very privileged to spend at least 12 years or more with a variety of gardening people that have worked so hard to produce this lovely garden you see outside. Okay, so here we go. Now, this isn't a normal kind of homily that you get, but this is a robin. And when people hear robins, they say, oh, the robins are back, it's spring. You know what? With global warming and climate change, robins have decided this is a great place to stay all winter. And if you look outside around this lovely property, you'll see a shrub called sumac. And on it, it has big fuzzy maroon berries. Inside the berries are orange caterpillars. So the robins can stay here and have a great feast. So that may be one thing we can't count on. So let's look at some things that we can. Now, are you going to put up my slides, PowerPoint? I'm not a computer techie. There it is. See, it was magic. One of the very early plants up in spring is called skunk cabbage. And it pokes its way up through mud. It used to be snow, but we don't have so much of that anymore, do we? And it comes equipped with a tiny little pollinator fly covered in black fur in February. I wonder why, right? But our indigenous people can't wait for the next couple of weeks to come by because the great big cabbage leaves come out. And even though they taste like Buckley's, they taste awful, they're very good for them, and they can get that first greens of spring. So that's why this is so important, because it tells us it's out, and it supplies food for insects and for people. Okay,
the side there.
Just a minute, all that calling. Thank you. Okay, I have my own pussy willows. Pussy willows we do have on this property, a couple of bushes, but they're tiny yet. But they're a wetland species, and the pussy willow is a catkin of a tree called glaucous willow. Now let's go through a little food chain, because when things come out, you know other things are going to follow. And the way we call that in science is a food web or a food chain, and we talk about that in our principles here a lot. So the pussy willows come out about third week in February, and suddenly there's little yellow flowers all over them. And then the whole sky is filled with tiny pollinator insects. And before long, the dragonflies and the damselflies, who are predators, come out to eat the insects. And the toads and frogs, as you heard today, aren't far behind. And they'll eat up the dragonflies and damselflies, and finally, tree swallows come out that eat insects too. So you have all this activity going out, and it all started with one little humble pussy willow. Ooh. The monarch cloak butterfly is here on this property. It overwinters as an adult and it comes out early March, but it's hiding all winter in the rocks, in the dead trees, stick piles, hibernaculums, and even underneath the shed. Now, things don't come out unless there's a reason. You know, it's like you go out to the pub to celebrate, right? That's right. So the monarch butterfly, it comes out when two of its host plants for the caterpillars are starting to come up. So one of them is a gardener's nightmare, and it's called stinging nettle. And the other one we have everywhere. If you look out here, have you seen a lot of red sticks and branches on trees out there? That's called dogwood. And we have a lot of different kinds of dogwood, and it's the leaves on that that provide the caterpillar with food. Okay, so let's go on. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, this is a spring azure. It's blue, like the song we just sang. You know, I am sky. It's so beautiful. Not me, the butterfly. So this butterfly is underneath our native grasses. It makes a chrysalis. Doesn't come out as an adult, but it's way inside. Now, it will come out for spring at the right time. And the right time is when the grass is turning green. So that's what the little tiny green caterpillars feed on. So we've got a small food web going there. Am I going too fast? No. Oh, I've got it already, sorry. Did you do that for me? You guys are great. Okay. This screech owl does stay all year, but the idea of telling us why it's spring is all of February, it makes a sound, something like this. Okay? Guess what? We have them on this property. We may have more than one family because we have a birdhouse up here and we have a lot of dead standing trees. So that's a good place. So it will find a mate, make the nesting in the box or the tree, and all of a sudden you have a family of 6. And guess what their favorite food is? Here at the church, there's lots of them tons of them at this church. Mice. Now, these guys can eat up to 20 mice a day. So if they have a 4-month scheduling here and there's 2 families, you're looking at literally 4,000 to 5,000 mice disappearing in 4 months. So we're going to call it our own able pest control bird. All right. Oh, thank you. Okay. Red-winged blackbirds are so cool because, first of all, they're very tough. And second of all, they have that color on them. They can escape their mates for 6 weeks. So the male comes back in early March, and he's scouting around. First of all, he goes to everybody's bird feeders. I'm sure you've seen them at your bird feeders, flocks and flocks of them, and they clean them out because they've had quite a big migration. So once their tummies are full, they go to the cattail wetlands. They scout out with that yellow and the black on them. They sound something. Just a minute. I've always been very good at making a fool of myself. Okay, so it goes, and then, or, so it will fight off for its territory, and its job is to make the nest. So it makes a beautiful little woven nest. And then 6 weeks later, all the females come back and they go, I like you. And then they mate up and they have their little family, and life goes on. So they're a very early spring thing, but without their mates. Okay, next one. Okay, I consulted with one of my choir members on this bird, so I'm going to do it, okay? He knows who he is. All right. A catbird comes in early March, back to this area. Yes, we have them. Yes, they're out in the trees. And you know they're there because you think, oh my gosh, somebody left their cat out. More like a Siamese cat. Now, they do have calls that they can get their mates in. But what I've been told, you know how there's a mockingbird? And you know how there's the thrasher? You might not know them. But they have beautiful, beautiful choir voices. But the catbird can make lots of quotes from other birds, and even from insects, and even from car noises and everything. But what it sounds like is an opera star who has a really bad case of laryngitis still promoting the show. Okay, how are we doing for time? Last one. Okay, the striped skunk may not necessarily be something that you want to see here in the grounds, but it is another able pest control guy. And here's what it does. The skunk comes out during first February thaw, and it will come into the gardens here, and it's looking for one particular thing to fatten them up after the long winter. You're not going to guess? Grubs. Yeah, who said that? They all know, okay. Got them well trained. I think most of them have been in the gardening committee. Anyway, they look for the grubs of cicada and June bugs, or June beetles, pardon me, and for beetles. There's little grubs for them too. And these have been way under the soil, sleeping away the winter. And just like the skunk, when it gets warmer, they start coming up to the surface. And guess what they do here in our yards? They eat up the roots of the grasses and the native plants. So when you see the skunk able pest control animal coming, we would like you to give him a big hug, but make sure you have lots of tomato juice in your cupboards, because otherwise it's going to be not the greatest experience for you. All right. Now I'm going to close because I know you'd rather be outside playing with all the things I told you about today. So what I would like to say to you, though, is we've talked about webs, and a web of life projects and turns and supports and does all those things. And we as humans have a choice now. We as humans, we can choose to live within that web of life, or we can choose to live outside the web, and by doing so, have control, have lordship, have reigning over, have maybe abuses and uses that might not fare well with the environment. So here's what I'm hoping from today and from our guest speakers and all the thoughts brought into you. Do you want to choose to be part of the web, to restore, to change, to protect? Or do you know people, maybe including yourself, that are still living in the web? So I'm really hoping and praying that we may find ourselves securely in the middle of the web. I pray for that. Let it be. Blessed be, amen.
Yeah, that's you. Oh, we're him. Yes. Sorry. I was forgetting our second hymn. That's number 21 in the green hymnal.
Mary Ellen sends her regrets this morning. Our closing words are by Stephanie Pescatelli. Spirit of life, on this special day of biodiversity and always, we give thanks for the bees, moths, and butterflies, for the glistening green mosses and prickly cactus pear, for the pine trees, purple flowers, and fleshy fungi, for the birds, the bears, and the big cats. We give thanks for the whales, the worms, and the walruses, for the flies, the foxes, and the ferns, for the llamas, the lichen, and the lizards. We give thanks for the land, water, and air we share, for this whole sacred ecosystem of beings. Bless what we share in common, our hungers, thirsts, our drive to connect. Bless our beautiful differences and diversity, our bodies, histories, our unique paths. Bless the roots and relationships that connect us to one another. And bless our right to belong, to be, to become in this wild, wonderful web of life that is our home. May it be so, may we be so. Amen and blessed be.
We extinguish this chalice, but not the fire in our hearts. Hope to see you all back a bit later on for the meeting.
Bells of Norwich and the people come and go.